Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like. I'm just grabbing some archives here. This is June of 2020. Let me see how big this issue was. It's 132 pages, and this is where I was. We have a lacrosse team here, and this is when they won the championship in 17. So we were at a game, and I'm a good supporter. And actually, I have a couple of DU alum that were on the team. And we went down to the locker room after this game and got to see my fellow Pioneer alums and players. And it was great. But it's always nice to hold a magazine in my hands to see what I was doing. And shoot, it's 2025. I actually had a little more hair back then. Oh my God, it wasn't gray. So there you go. But don't miss the printer. Don't miss uh, the post office. My last issue that we printed was August of 2021, and haven't looked back since. And just had under 49 million people hit the website consuming content last year in 2024. So thank you to everybody out there that was out, hitting the website, and we couldn't have done it without you. So you're all gold in my eyes. But hopefully everybody's having a great start to 2025. Super Bowl was just this last weekend, and the national championship game. The holidays are over. Now you're getting your credit card bills. You got to pay all that stuff off for all those Christmas and Hanukkah gifts that you gave out. But it's an amazing time to be alive right now because there's so much business, politics, just life in general. Everything's going so quick. I can't even keep up with it. I kind of lay in bed at night and I look at my phone. I'm like, what did I miss today? And every day, never a dull moment. That's all I've got to say. And if you're bored, I don't know what's going to excite you because every day it's just amazing what's going on in the world. But I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia. It is pouring here today, very cold, and we've got a little storm front coming through there. But spring's coming in there. Old man Winter's going to raise his head for a couple days. I think it was 75 degrees yesterday. Now I think it's 44 out there. So, but spring will be here, and we get a couple months of cold. But by February, March, spring's coming in, and then the pollen in April, and then summer's here by May. So, but today I have a gentleman in one of my favorite towns, Vail, Colorado. I went to DU, so I was a ski bum. My parents had a house out there forever, and have fond memories. And he's been out there since the beginning. And his name is Frank Stasiowski. Did I pronounce it right, Frank? Was I close?
Perfect.
All right. And Frank's an architect and he's an author, consultant, writer. He's a jack of all trades and he helps firms just improve their efficiencies and scale their businesses. So Frank, say hello to our listeners out there in Vail, Colorado, or Arrowhead, I should actually say, but it's basically Vail. So say hello.
Thank you, David. Hello, David, and hello, everybody.
And we were talking
Um,
before we got on, and Frank has been out in Vail for almost 50 years. I mean, that's amazing because it was like a little dinky town, up in the Rockies, and now it's just a booming the whole area has just unbelievably been built up. But back then, it must have been so awesome and very intimate. And if you were a skier, you're probably in the best place to ski, pretty much in the world. There's nothing like Vail skiing with light powder and long runs and the back bowls, and you can't get much better. So,
I tell
Frank,
people, David, I say we've both been here since we had hair.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I grew up. I learned how to ski out there, and it was yeah. I went to DU, and after I graduated, all my friends either they went back to California, or they went back to the East Coast. So I was like one of the last survivors, and the Cherry Creek Reservoir just wasn't doing it for me in Denver, and I decided. I did my retail training at Levitt's in Lakewood, and then it was time for me to move to North Carolina to go in the plant. My parents were upholsterers, and I just decided that furniture wasn't my bag. And here I am, a publisher, for the last 25 years, and it's been an amazing ride. But God, I've got fond memories before. I remember the early days before Vail even had TV. When you went out there, you just had to, enjoy the outside and enjoy the scenery and go to bed. There was nothing to keep you out there. But Uh, it's so nice to talk to a Vailite, that's been there from the beginning. It's you
The days
probably.
of wooden skis and no helmets. You remember those days? Wooden skis and no helmets.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I never wore a helmet, and it my like I said, my parents took put me on skis after I could after I was out of diapers, skis and skates, and that was the gig, and it I'm glad they did because I was an excellent skier and I had a blast, and nothing like skiing on the east where it's ice and cold and burlap blankets that they would give you on the old wooden chairlifts, but now Vail is, it's an international ski resort, and they've just done an unbelievable job on, building and development. So, it's awesome to talk to someone that's local there. So, well, I got to ask you, what was your favorite run to skiing in Vail?
Oh, my favorite run is easily Riva Ridge and Blue Ox. Those are the
Oh
two I
yeah.
ever. Yeah.
I'll tell you, those are some of my favorite runs. I can make it down from the top of Vale to the bottom. Oh, I don't know, just bombing in about, probably 5 or 6 minutes, not going through, depending on how much, traffic was on, on the mountain. But, oh yeah, China Bowl. And then,
Well,
there's
you
some.
know what we do now? I'll interrupt for a minute. I know we got a lot of things to talk about, but one of the things we do every Thursday, I'm in a men's group here, and we go out and we hit from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. We hit all 27 lifts on Vail Mountain. It's an event called the Conqueror. We do it every week. So I'll ski 45 to 55,000 feet on a Thursday and 27 chairlifts. We hire an instructor. We go. There are 8 of us, and we're all over the mountains. So we're still doing it. Still going. If you get out here, you're welcome to join us.
Well, when I moved, I got rid of all my different boards because I've skied on all different sizes. I used to ski, well, when I was in school out there, I skied on like 210 K2s. They were little skinny toothpicks, and then they got to the flare, the fat boys. Now everything's tapered. I had all these skis, and I told my wife, I go, I'm getting rid of anything. If I go skiing again, I'm just going to demo a pair of boots and some skis, and I'll just bring my powder suit and done. But I skied every mountain in Colorado. I did St. Mary's Glacier. Our fraternity, everybody had to go up there and do that stuff. And yeah, I think the steepest place I think I skied in Colorado was Telluride. That was probably the steepest place that I skied. But there were some good runs on Arapahoe Basin that
Oh, yeah,
were
but the World Cup is in Beaver Creek every year because the steepest mountain now is Beaver Creek, where you've got the birds of prey.
birds of prey. Hmm.
World Cup every December. So,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
shall we give your listeners something else to hear about besides our skiing?
Oh, yeah, listen, we could talk all day about skiing, but well, here's how it's going to work. We're going to do it in three sections. You're going to tell your story, which I know is amazing, and where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up what you're doing today. And then we'll talk about lessons learned, some of your books, and things that are happening, maybe some trends that you see, in the architecture, engineering, contractor communities as we roll through 2025. And then you'll leave your contact info and one positive thought or phrase for our listeners. So, with that said, the floor is yours. Frank, tell us your story.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's hard to tell your own story here because I've been doing this so long. My real story is that we now have 130 people around the world helping architects, engineers, and contractors do better at their business. And our mission is very simple, and it's to inspire people to grow and to be better at what they do in the architecture, engineering, construction business. And a lot of the things we do and all the people we do, I tell people my job these days is to do as little as I possibly can and get my team out there all over the world. And they're all doing it, which is so good. We have offices in London and Sydney, Australia, and all over the United States. And we teach about 5,000 professionals a year how to run their projects better through our training programs. We've had as many as 9 trade shows. Right now, our biggest trade show is the MetalCon show, which is a metal construction show that David's aware of. We do that every year. It's been going for 30 years. Last year was our biggest show in Atlanta. We're heading to Las Vegas this year, and it should be even bigger. But what we try to do and what I try to do, having written 14 books, is I try to inspire people to really help themselves to get better at what we do. Buildings and construction and design has been going on for thousands of years. And it's not very progressive when we think about it. We're still building things the way, in many cases, the Romans built them. We've still got old-fashioned structures going up, and there's not an awful lot of innovation going. So when you think about it from that perspective, our job is to really capture where we are today, look at what's going on, and try to inspire people to make their businesses better as a result of it. Now, David asked me to tell you where I'm from and all that kind of stuff. In the 1960s, I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, went to Rhode Island School of Design, ended up starting a company out of there, designing and building 37 single-family homes because there was no business for architects back then. So I became a builder. After that, having lost a lot of money building homes because I didn't know what I was doing, I decided I better get some business education. So I went back and got an MBA. Once I got that MBA, I was kind of a rare commodity, an architect with an MBA. And I started helping architects to make their business more efficient, more successful by designing and writing software packages on finance, by teaching people how to run their projects better. And that's how the whole thing started. One by one, I added staff. I started teaching project management programs. More people came. I started writing books. More people came. We did a newsletter, ended up with 10,000 subscribers, which we still have today. And it's all tools to help people make their business more effective. And back about 30 years ago, I started every 10 years writing a book on the future. I started predicting what would happen. And I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about 2019 right now, because in 2019, in the book I wrote that year, which is Impact 2030, which was replacing the Impact 2020 book, I made a bold series of about a dozen predictions as to what was going to happen over the decade of the 2020s. Three of those predictions were very interesting. I said, number one, we were going to have some kind of an economic turmoil hit our professions, architecture, engineering, and contract. Number two, I said we were going to have the biggest shortage of design and construction help and professionals we'd ever face. And number three, I said we're going to have the roaring 20s in which design and construction were going to boom. Now, all three of those things came true. I had no idea that COVID was going to be the financial interruption. But a year and a half after I wrote the book, man, COVID hit and the whole industry got shocked. But that shock and that change, in my opinion, started to inspire people to get better. Everybody went through turmoil. Everybody questioned their existence. As David mentioned, he went from print to online. We did a lot of that ourselves, teaching people through Zoom across the world with our programs. Teaching electronically. We're still doing it today. So, the shock of that change inspired people to be better. Now, it's true that an awful lot of people went out of business. They went out of business because their business depended upon humans getting together. The trade show industry, for instance, took a real hit. Most all trade shows in America stopped. And many people that I know in the trade show industry suffered financially, great amounts of money. Much of that has come back, but it's a changed industry, just like everything else. So what I predicted in terms of economic change, in terms of the shortage of people and the booming 20s, have all come true. And now here we are in the middle of the 2020s, and we have massive change still going on. What I look at today, and I look at the first 100 days of Donald Trump, where things are going, how we're looking at formidable change in the government. And it's going to hurt some people, and it's going to help a lot of people. So, we elected a president that would change the government. And here we sit now, and it seems like every day on TV, you can't keep up with what's going on and all the criticism going on about change. At first bluff, people don't like change. But if you really think about it in your own design and construction business, we thrive during change. I'm going to give you one example of a project type that I didn't think would make it, but it's starting to boom right now. And that's the conversion of office buildings to residential space. When I first heard of that back during COVID, what are we going to do with all these office buildings that are going to be empty? I said, it's going to be pretty expensive to do that because most office buildings that I worked on from a design point of view have one central tower, one source of water, one set of bathrooms, all up and down that central tower. And how are you going to supply water and toilets and things to 4 housing units per floor up a 30-story building? How are you going to do that economically and make it work? Well, you're starting to see in big cities across America, this is working. I was in a building in Dallas, Texas, the Townsend building, which was a conversion to residential, commercial, and on the top, one of the best Italian restaurants in all of America. And it's absolutely booming. Now, the cost of real estate and the cost of housing is helping that because with the shortage of housing, the price of housing is going up and it's helping developers and the builders to transform buildings like that. So what are we doing now? And what are we saying to people about all of this relative to change in your business practice? Now, here we go, my next prediction. And I made this about a year ago, and I'm working on it right now and talking about it. And we've got a new event going on, and it's booming. But artificial intelligence and the coming advent of quantum computing is going to change our professions, both architecture, engineering, and consulting, and it's going to change the construction industry in ways we have never seen. When we can do things about 400 to 500 times as fast as they can be done today using quantum computing, the world will change. Our people will change. We'll have maybe less of them in the initial stages because artificial intelligence will do an awful lot that people can now do. Many of the routine tasks are going to go away. But in fact, what's going to happen is things are going to be thought of and done faster because if we can exploit data, and I'll give you, for instance, of a building type or a project. Let's take a bridge. Let's say I'm a client in Canada, and I want you as an architect engineering team and a construction team to design a 1 mile span across a river in Calgary, up where all those nice ski areas are coming out of Lake Louise, right, David?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to design a award-winning bridge. Well, we can digitize all of that stuff. Right now, we can digitize every piece of material there is, all the properties of the material. Do you want the bridge built out of plastic? Do you want it built out of wood, out of paper, out of glass, out of steel, out of concrete? You tell me how you want it built, and I'll take all the properties and put them into a computer. We can take every design award-winning bridge that's ever been built in the history of mankind, and we can put them into a computer both digitally and physically. We can see them. We can graphically see them. And we can take all the elements of award-winning design and boil it down into what those criteria are. We can then take all the properties of the strength of the bridge. Do you want it to be an auto bridge of 6 lanes with the capacity to have massive 18-wheelers on it across the entire bridge? Do you want it to be a footbridge? You tell me the criteria for the project. We can throw all that into artificial intelligence and come up with 4, 5, or 6 designs for you to choose from that aren't perfect, but that can allow a structural engineer, an architect, and a contractor to have a discussion about 50 times faster than we could 20 years ago. So our ability to improve what we do in the construction business, what we do in the architecture business, what we do in the materials business, whether it's using concrete, whether it's using steel, whatever we're using as materials, the speed with which we can make decisions, better decisions, is going to be multiplied by 400 times over the next 5 years. Now, that's going to change the world. It's not only going to change architects and engineers and contractors, it's going to change our entire world. Many of you don't know what quantum computing is today. I've just invested in a trade show. I've become an owner of a quantum computing trade show that happens, and it's happened over the last 3 years in Washington, D.C. Quantum computing does not use chips. It uses neutrons and electrons to accelerate the speed of decisions in a 360-degree circle. Chips are linear. You have zeros and ones. If you remember back in your old days of college computing, zeros and ones, you either have positive or negative, and it's a series of zeros and ones that have been accelerated through the rapid engineering of chips to be pretty fast right now. But quantum computing, when we can harness the neutrons and the protons to accelerate the speed of decisions through data, is going to be 400 times faster than what's going on right now. And it's being invested in. When you look at Microsoft, IBM, Dell, all of the big computer companies, they are all investing billions right now in the development of quantum computing. It's our military. My wife's nephew is a general in the Army, and he's in charge of innovation for the Army out of Washington, D.C. His job is to put us ahead of China in quantum computing for the military. So, where will we be and how fast will that occur? I want you to think back for a second, not only 4 years ago or 5 years ago, but how about 10 years ago, when mobile computing and mobile phones weren't even a third of what they are today. Remember bag phones in 2009? Now, 2009 was only 10, 14 years ago. And 14 years, we've got phones today that are more powerful than the rocket ships that put us on the moon. And kids can do things that we could never think of doing. So we have a whole next generation coming along. We have the speed of light going to be infused into what we do. And here we sit with most owners of design and construction firms in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and sometimes 70s, using means and methods to run your business that were developed in the 40s and 50s. We're not ready for this. We're not ready for it. So this change is going to come in rapid fire order, and the 25-year-olds are going to take over our business. They're going to embrace this. We have one design company right now that's developing and building data centers. And from a market perspective, data centers are one of the hottest building types that are being done right now. They're all over the country and everybody's building. This particular firm has 300 people in it, and they have no offices. They're all engineers and architects. They have no offices. They work virtually 100% of the time. They are doing nothing but data centers. And the CEO in his meeting with me about a month ago wants to buy a humanoid robot to help him as his personal assistant. You know, we're talking space age stuff. And we have contractors listening to this that are your customers, David, I'm sure, who are still using hammers and nails. I'm not even sure they're
I'm
using
thinking slide rules myself, you
slide
know?
rules. There you go.
Well,
So,
I don't know. Some people might not even know what that
the
is, but I
change
know what
that's
it is. I
happening.
used them in shop class, way
Oh,
back.
I agree. I agree. But and the other change that's happening is transition. Companies with people over age 50 looking to sell their company. One of the businesses we're in is PSMJ, the company I'm in. We have a team of 12 people that do nothing but merger and acquisition in this space. And we're booming right now. Last year, we closed on 18 sales of design and construction companies. 18. And most of those sales are by people in their 50s and 60s who really do not want to embrace the change that I'm now talking about. They're afraid of it. They don't know what to do. So they're selling their companies. And I'm sure you're seeing it. I'm sure a lot of the people listening to me right now are saying to themselves, damn, I'm 60 years old. I need to get out of this. I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to be facing this kind of change. At the same time, let me bring it around to the glass half full. I'm an optimist. I wish I was 21 years old. By the way, I am. I only look this bad. Okay. Change is exciting, guys. And, all of you that are out there, what I try to do when we meet with firms, I try to sit with people and say, look, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. It's an opportunity for you to not only bring into your business, your construction company or your architecture firm, young people who are enthusiastic about putting their arms around technology and how it applies to your business. but it's also an opportunity to create value. The days of keeping track of our costs by time are gone. We've got to get out of the time sales business. I tell architects and engineers these days, get rid of your time cards. Get out of it. Time cards are ancient history. If you're still selling time, and if you're still trying to produce value by the hours you produce, you're going to be out of business in 5 years. Think about what I'm saying with artificial intelligence and quantum computing. We'll be able to do things 500 times faster. So how are you going to sell hours if you can do things in 5 minutes? You'll do nothing but erode your economic revenue. So it's time to think differently about how you contract. The contracts for construction, the contracts for architecture and engineering all have to change. And our associations are still behind the time. When I look at what firms are doing, like this firm I mentioned, the 300 people that are a virtual firm, they're light years ahead of the normal practice of architecture and engineering. 100% of their contracts are cash and advance contracts with data companies that need their facilities designed and built in lightning speed. We're way behind in the business of building data centers. They're taking over properties that are on the side of highways, turning unusable land into a data center. So think about the change that's going on. Now think about what Trump is doing and what he's predicting. And that is bringing industrial factories back to America. I predict over the next 5 years, the biggest boom in construction is going to be in industrial, where we start to retool things with both quantum computing, AI, and now bringing things home to America. New car manufacturing, new assembly lines, new distribution centers. If you think Amazon is good now, think of what this is going to do to Amazon in terms of distribution. I have no idea what the post office is going to do. They're so inefficient. I have no idea who could help them right now because they're so far behind UPS and Amazon. It's unbelievable. So all of this change is an opportunity for you, for the people that are listening, to embrace the young people of America. It's time that on your board of directors, you start putting younger people who have no fear of what I'm talking about and start to create strategies for your business that begin to embrace change. Change in the way you do things, change in the people you hire, change in the way you contract. It's an opportunity we haven't seen in probably 150 years. It's probably 100 years at best. You know, when we went from steam engine and horses to fuel, and we started to use oil in the 1920s, we saw a dramatic change. That change was propelled by World War I and further propelled by World War II as technology forced us to do things we had never done before. You know, aircrafts flying in war. That didn't happen before World War I. Now here we are in the 2020s looking at a decade of change that will be looked back upon as an era when those who were, you know, optimistic and changed their business really boomed. Those of you that aren't and are afraid of this, it's time to sell your business. It's time to get out. It's time to get away because you will lose to those who don't embrace this kind of change. That's the real message I'm out there talking about right now. When we do our trade show, what we try to do in the metal construction trade show is we try to help people with change. We try to get these products out. We try to embrace people that are doing this stuff and show it. One other endeavor that we've just taken on, again, back in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit down in the Southeast, we started a 501c3 to rebuild the Southeast coast. And we helped through all of our contacts, and maybe some of yours, David, would like to help us this time. We raised, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we went down to Bay St. Louis, which was the epicenter of Hurricane Katrina, and helped build a community center and rebuild the town of Bay St. Louis. And when you look at what's going on in North Carolina, and you look at what has happened recently in Pacific Palisades, we've reignited our PSMJ Rebuilding Fund. And we're out there right now collecting funds. and taking applications from people that want us to help them. In a rebuilding sense, the first thing that happens with these disasters is the Red Cross comes in, the Samaritans come in, the food banks come in to take care of the people, and that's the way it ought to be. But in the long run, 2 years from now, we won't even be thinking about what has to happen in places like North Carolina and in places like Pacific Palisades. When community centers, fire stations, hospitals, schools all have to be rebuilt, not just homes, but all of this infrastructure of the backbone of our society that's been destroyed in places like North Carolina and in places like California have to be rebuilt. So one of the things we do, and one of the things you can do as contractors is help to do this. We've already had expressions of interest from our metal construction exhibitors to give us materials, design, and help to help rebuild in a fireproof way Southern California. So change comes. Sometimes we embrace it, sometimes it hits us, like the fires of California. And we in the design and construction business are positioned in a unique position to help our society. And I think whether you're a small contractor or a big contractor today, you really need to dig into your heart a little bit and ask yourself, what can we do in our business to change it, to embrace this speed of lightning that's coming? And what can we do to help those people out there with our knowledge and our ability today to bring back those communities? So it's not just for profits. The profits are going to come if you're in a position to help people and if you embrace this kind of change. So that's the message we have out there going on. And I may not go the whole 45 minutes for you, Dave, but
No, that was
how am I
listen.
doing so far? Is this
Oh, no, you're
is this
doing great. I over the last 3 to 4 years, the amount of people I've talked to in all different disciplines, um, most of them have had the best years. They probably could have done more business if they had more project managers or superintendents to, to run the projects, but you don't want to bite off more than you can chew because if you don't deliver, you got your reputation to deal with. But just recently, between, Asheville's only 2 hours. Did a couple of events up there at the Biltmore and total devastation. I had just started my house. My framing package got delivered on the lot, and we just got the front of the framing on the house put up. And then Helene came in like the next night, waited for the storm, went up, called my framer, took a text, took a screenshot, said, Manuel, the whole front of the house is blown down. Looks like pixie sticks. And he said, don't worry about it, man. We'll fix that in about a half a day. Not a big deal. And I was lucky, but the devastation that you just don't understand how brutal that storm was in Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. And we got flooding here in Atlanta and South Georgia. All the pecan trees got knocked down. I mean, and there were people locally that all put together and drove up, blankets, tents, what have you. And now the same thing has happened. I've got a couple of contractors and architects. They want to pool their resources and figure out how they can help those people because a lot of people have built projects out there and now it's time to give back. But you think about all the people and all the homes that got in the Palisades area and some of the other areas where the fires were. Some of those people are contractors. They don't have any place to live. They have to get lumber and it what an
They
undertaking.
lost all their tools, they lost all their equipment, everything's gone.
All of that
So,
stuff
there's
got
a
to
lot
get
of
replaced.
opportunity to help. Awful lot of opportunity to help. And what we did, when we did Katrina, we learned an awful lot. We went down to help New Orleans and we ended up in Mississippi for a lot of reasons that I won't go into. But it was a humbling experience because my wife and I started this 501(c)(3) in 2005, and we got on an airplane and went down there with the Army. We were able to get in. There was a general down there in Hattiesburg that took us in to places we couldn't get to personally. And the entire coast was devastated. 40-foot wall of water hit Mississippi between Waveland and Bay St. Louis. And I've got over 6,000 slides of the devastation. And we went to work and we raised an awful lot of money, and we were tempted to immediately start giving money away. And then we stepped back. And I remember being in Bay St. Louis for a meeting that I ran. They lost all of their public facilities. They had no place to get together and do any planning on what to do to help their people. So we built a tent, and I ran effectively a town planning meeting for about 50 people, where we started to lay out the priorities of what needed to be done. Now, this was about 6 months after Katrina. And the Red Cross was there, and the Samaritans were there, and all of the people, Habitat for Humanity was there. I met a whole bunch of people that I'll never forget. At the end of it, they did a parade 2 years later, and the biggest honor that my wife and I had when they ran this parade on the second anniversary of Katrina. We had just finished the Bay St. Louis Town Hall, and Joan and I were down there. And they're in the parade. They put Joan and I in the convertible car in the parade, and they put the governor in the back seat behind us. We were more important to that community than the governor, because we had helped to bring the community back together through the facility we built and how we raised funds for it. So if you're a contractor out there, an architect or an engineer, your real purpose in life at the end of the day, I tell people we're in the most wonderful profession in the world. The things you build, the stuff you create, will be here long after you're gone, unless a devastating storm like this hits, takes it away. But most likely, you're going to be able to put some stuff back together that'll survive you and will help your legacy be something special. And that's what we're doing right now through our disaster and rebuilding fund. So, 50 years of doing this, we've been all over the world. Our list is 165,000 customers we've helped over 50 years that are all architects, engineers, and contractors. We continue to do it. As I said, my job is to do as little as I possibly can, except get my team into places where they are. You think about Habitat for Humanity. One of the things I thought about was maybe we need a mega free building group of contractors to fly into California and give our building services away for free and help people build their homes back. If anybody wants to do that, reach out to me. I'll be glad to put you in touch with people that are doing it, because it's time for us to stand up and, number one, embrace change, make our businesses better as a result. Think about value that we bring to this business, not the cost, the value. Get rid of measuring time. It's about speed right now. Embrace the youth. They're out there and they want to be part of this. They love doing this design and construction business, especially for firms that are embracing the future. And give it up. If you're 50, 60, or 70 years old, empower those young people to move forward, and you'll have a successful legacy, absolutely successful legacy. And you'll do something meaningful, especially for places like California and North Carolina. Now, if you want to reach us, I'll tell you how you reach us. Our website's easy. It's www.psmj, please serve me jelly, psmj.com. And when I say please serve me jelly, that's not what it stands for, and it's not somebody's name. That was our first ever newsletter, the Professional Services Management Journal. And it has survived. We've been in business 50 years, and we are looking forward to the next 50. What we've done in the last 50 is unimportant. What we got to do in the next 50 is embrace this growing and evolving construction business, and do it in new and different ways, and really, capture the kind of elements that I'm talking about. Now, let me go to one other thing before I finish. I'm preparing a presentation right now about Donald Trump's first 100 days. And there's an awful lot of fear out there amongst people that things like the tariffs on steel and aluminum are going to add so much to construction costs that it's going to hurt our business. I disagree with that, because when you go back,
I totally disagree.
If you go back 8 years ago when the tariffs went in on steel, boy, did that propel and help places like Western Pennsylvania, where the steel industry was devastated by Japan and Germany taking over, and China taking over and glutting the market with low price steel. It was devastated because the price of oil, or the rules that were put in by the government prohibiting fracking almost killed the oil business in Pennsylvania. So we're changing back to an economy where value for what we do in America will be where we are. Yes, there will be imports that will cost more. But in fact, when you think about it, the value of what we do will go higher and higher. I predict that by 4 years from now, you're going to see an economy that's based on value, based on performance, and based on merit like you've never seen before. It's time we reinvest in America, and you're part of it. And I don't care. I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking value, and I'm talking, work ethic. And it's back to America the way it used to be. Work hard, achieve value, and be good at what you do. And then transition it to a group of people that are enthusiastic, and you'll have no problem finding those kind of people out there. The young people, by the way, I'm a trustee at the business school. They elected me as a trustee 3 years ago based on what we had done. And it's a business school in Rhode Island called Bryant University. We are the number one undergraduate school graduating students with the highest earnings at graduation of any business school in America. That's our pride, is putting those undergraduates into businesses, earning the highest compensation upon graduation. And when I talk to those kids, my God, are they enthusiastic. They want to create new businesses. They want to grow America. And it's your job to grab hold of them now in your construction and design business and put them to work. The next 5 years, by 2030, if you haven't done some of the things I've talked about, you may not survive. So embrace the future, guys. By the way, just started to work on my Impact 2040 book to make predictions for the next 10 years. So watch for it by 2029.
Here's a good two things. Here's a good story about Mississippi. I had never been to Biloxi, and anyway, I went down and took the tour, and it was after the storm came through, and it basically leveled everything. And I'm with the CBB, and she's taking around. I'm looking at the hotels. We found this place called the White House. It was right down from the strip from Biloxi, but it was basically it got ruined by the ho. If you've never been to Biloxi or the Florida Panhandle. It's like a lake out there. They got no
Right.
berms like or jetties or any of that stuff like up north. The water comes in, you get flooded, especially with
Mhm.
wind and flooding. It just got torched. Anyway, she said, "Yeah, we spent the whole day. They were right by the convention center." And they were putting plastic down and everything else. The storm came in. They went back to look at their building. It was gone. The only thing was left. It was the slab, and they didn't back up their database. So when I took the tour, I said, "Look, I'm gonna bring my retreat, and we'll do it at the White House. It looks like the White House. They rebuilt it, and uh, anyway, beautiful, and had a great experience. And then I brought my big event. A couple of years later, we did it at the Golden Nugget, and but it was amazing how far the water went in, where they could see it, and all the palm trees that got knocked down. They had an artist that made them in, but it must have been so devastating." To, if you rode out the storm, if you didn't go inland. But uh, it it was it was kind of a catch-22 because I felt so sorry, but they were rebuilding. They didn't have their database, and they reached out to me. I said, "Yeah, I've never been to Biloxi. I see it, and I'd like to come check it out." And I went down and saw it. And I was like, "Look, I'm going to bring my event there. I want to put uh, I want to put some money back in here." And then I brought my big event, and we had actually when Katrina hit New Orleans, we were going to do our show. And I was it was when I had my healthcare book, and we were in Baltimore, and they had sent me the contract. I said, "I'll just sign it when I get back." Well, the storm came in and wrecked New Orleans, and we're watching on the tube, and I told my wife, I go, "Oh my God, those are my chairs for my conference center at the convention center that are all just getting, you know, peed on or rained on or whatever." And I couldn't get in touch with anybody for a couple of days. And then I finally did. And I said, "Look, I haven't signed the contract. I'm just trying to find out where you're going to be." And I flew back down, and then I saw it, and I said, "Look, I can't do my event here because you got a lot of rebuilding to do. You just do. When you get rebuilt, I'll reconsider it." And obviously Biloxi isn't New Orleans, much smaller town. So, and a lot, but just seeing the devastation, it was unbelievable. From a technology point, technology, there's so many older folks that are in that AEC sector that are so scared of technology. And if you don't embrace it, you, I'm right on that same wavelength. You've got to learn it. It's like push button 101 in my opinion, but you can't be scared of it. You have to embrace it because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And just what with the roller coaster and the shutdown in March of 2020, if you weren't nimble and be able to change and pivot, I know that word was used so many times, but if you weren't able to be flexible and move forward and learn how you're going to, survive, your company probably didn't make it. And the ones that were able to do it, they prospered, they grew, and now technology's at warp speed. The stuff that you learn today, 6 months from now, will be outdated because it's at warp speed. And AI, it's kind of once again, is the cart before the horse or after, but the toothpaste is out of the tube. They're not going to put it back in. AI is an amazing tool. I use it
Well,
every day.
David, we're doing an event on on June 28th and 29th down in Austin, Texas. It's kind of a semi trade show. And we have over 50 companies supplying AI products already to the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And we expect probably 1,000 people to come to Austin, Texas at the end of June for this event. And we have an array of probably 200 speakers talking about how to apply AI and other things in the business of construction and architecture and engineering. So if anybody wants any information on that, just reach out to me through the website again. We're here to help people. You are helping people. That's what we do for a living, and it's so rewarding when the people that have listened to this today make a huge change in their business and become one of the people we feature in our stories because it makes you feel good that some of the things you're saying can help some of these people in business today to leave a legacy that's even richer than what you already have. So if you're out there and you want to connect with me, www.psmj.com is our website. And Dave, they know how to get a hold of you. And love to help anybody that wants some help and love to chat more about this stuff. By the way, I love it when people disagree with what I say. I like to debate. Debating is what it's all about. So anybody that's out there that wants to engage me, just reach out. Love to do it.
My grandfather, he was in WW2. He was a combat engineer underneath Patton, and he rebuilt all the bridges that the Allies bombed during the war and afterwards. And we were in recycling. We were in sustainability before it was even a word. It's been in business since it's called Mayor Pollock Steel, and as a grandson. It's outside of Philly, just about 15 minutes west of Valley Forge. Anyway, uh, when all the grandsons when got your license at 16, everybody had to work in the scrapyard. So I shoveled asbestos, I laid railroad tracks, I welded, I did all that stuff. And it's amazing that, what I look at today, with recycling and sustainability and reuse, they were doing it way back when before everybody was even doing it. However, uh, it was that mode that I learned, hey, I had to be my first superintendent was my uncle Frank Schuler. He was one badass mofo. If you weren't there at 6:55 in the morning, you had to be there at 7. He was mad, and you always were the last one. And but when I look at it, it's still the same. But they've been technology has helped how they crush cars and just equipment in general. Just like skiing, the equipment has changed.
Sure.
They go faster. It's more nimble, but it's still skiing. But
Mhm.
it's just at a much more intense pace. And um, looking at where we are today, the biggest thing is when I saw President Trump out there when he went to North Carolina, was it last week, the week before, and then he flew out the same day and went to California, had that little powwow with the municipalities, and he said, "Look, these people want to get dumpsters at their houses. Don't delay that stuff. Let them go. Get rid of the regulations. There's nothing left. Everything's burnt to a crisp. Let these people, if they want to sift through their stuff, let them do it." And the mayor, she said she didn't do it. You know what she did? She hired a consultant. She should be, they need to recall her or get fire her because she didn't even listen to a word the guy said. The guy's a builder. And
Mhm.
and I know some of you out there don't like him, but you know what? He's done more in the last 3 weeks than, oh my DU sign's falling on. I don't care. I'll fix it. The bottom line is that it it's amazing what's going on, but the stuff that's going to happen, it is the most amazing time to be alive. You're living in history, and you're going to look back, just
Yeah,
like you said, 5 years from now, and you look back when you hit 2030 and you look back at 2025, what has changed? It's you're not even going to recognize what construction is down the road. And so you're right
I
on.
agree
You're,
wholeheartedly.
oh, absolutely. Um, Listen, if anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. We're going to put all of the shows in the description on Frank's, on the MetalCon event, on the AI event in Austin. And if he's got any books, he'll give them to me. So I'll put them all in there. And I wasn't aware that you did your predictions. So I like that stuff. It's like Nostradamus. A lot of
I'll have to
stuff.
send you a copy of that book. I'll send you the copy of the Impact 2030 book and you can read it. So it's
Yeah.
all good stuff.
Oh yeah. And listen, if there was one positive thought that you'd want to leave with our listeners before we end, what would it be?
Well, the thing that I heard the other night, I think, I listened to News Nation because I like Chris Cuomo, and he said something that I think is very truthful right now. He said, in today's era, when you listen to the news or you listen to all the things that are going on, don't listen to the noise. Listen to the results of what's actually happening. He said, there's an awful lot of noise in the world today. The kids that come to work on your construction site every day are talking about what happened last night. It's noise. What's the real stuff? So it's time we get back to some of the real stuff, the real results. I mean, the real stuff of what's going on right now is we're trying to make the government more efficient. And the noise is all this language that's going back and forth between Republicans and Democrats talking about. Let's look at what really happens. The same thing applies to your construction and design business. Take a look at the heart of your business, the essence of why you're there. What's your mission? What are you trying to accomplish? And what's your real purpose in helping the audience you're there to help? If your mission is to do a better job at designing homes that will meet all the needs of a particular element of our society, whether it's low price homes or high price homes, then recrystallize that strategic mission that you are there for. Why are you in business? That's the heart of it, not the noise, not all the stuff that goes on all around it, but why are you there? Focus on the why, and you'll end up being a better business, have a better life, and leave a better legacy. That's my message.
Well, I do a video every day when I go out and do my 5 or 7 miles. So I'm out there tonight. So I'm gonna use that for my word of the day. Why? Why do you do the things that you do? And I'll give you some props. I'm gonna give you the kudos on it too. I'll give you the credit, the photo credit, or the uh,
Appreciate it, David.
the praise credit. Couple things before we finish up. Number one, if you're out there on the construction site, we want you to be safe. So you get home, have dinner with your kids, your family, your pets, get some, have some fun, go to bed with a smile on your face, get up and be able to go do it the next day. Number two, got to stay hydrated. I know it got warm, but here, it got cold really quick. That we're still in the winter here in the South. Put some electrolytes in your water bottle, but stay liquefied. Number one, you're gonna have a better day. And when you're hydrated, dehydrated, you get headaches. That's the athlete in me. Same thing if you're on a construction site. You want to stay liquefied. You'll sleep better. You'll feel better. And you'll be able to get up the next morning. So liquefaction is so important. And last but not least, hey, hit the like button so everybody can find this algorithms out there on the web and hear what Frank had to say. I mean, I haven't been this quiet in a long time, and my thing's falling down. I don't care. And it what a stimulating conversation. that you can actually, I was a political science major at DU in economics, but politics is just like such a thing that, people just get, and I'm just like, you know what? Uh, you got to go with the flow. If they do something good, I don't care which side of the aisle they're on. If they're doing something good to improve everybody's lives, that's what it's all about. And
Common sense.
common sense, exactly. I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm 150% with you there. So, uh, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It was awesome. And if I get out, I'll be 62 this year. Will you let me get in your ski group that you go with the 50, or you
Absolutely. You got
come
to be
in?
over 60 to be in my ski group,
Oh, okay.
By the
So
way,
look, I'm 61, so I'll be
the oldest
62 in June. So
the
I'll come
oldest
out
guy in
there
our
and
group
I'll.
is 86 and he skis about twice as fast as I do. So, we got a good group. They're all business owners, all people who've done something significant in life, and we're all out there tearing up the mountain these days. So, listen, David, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me on.
Mhm.
Thank you for listening to all these things I've said, and hopefully it's helping. If it helps one person out there, I'm happy, and hopefully it's helped more than one.
So everybody out there, listen, have a constructive rest of the week. Have a great, listen, you're about halfway through February and listen, stay positive, keep the blinders on, don't let the noise get to you, get things done, stay positive, and mindset is everything. Don't surround yourself with negative people because they're just going to bring you down. And yeah, just like my sign just fell down. And with that, uh, listen, just have a great year and embrace everything that you're going to see because you're, like I said, you're gonna, it's the golden age in my opinion, and you're going to see, just like Frank predicted, that things are going to change. You might as well go with it than fight it. And the more that you know, the better off you're going to be. So, Frank, say goodbye from Vale Arrowhead,
Take
and
care, guys.
I'm
Have a
going to
great
sign
day,
off.
a great week, and have a great year.
Yeah, and I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below Lake Lanier, about 25 miles north of downtown Atlanta. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Frank, thank you so much. Very entertaining.
Thank you,
All right.
David. We'll see you.
All right. Cheers,
Bye bye.
everybody. See you.